Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is March 5th, 2025, and Jonathan Tah has ruled out a move to Bayern Munich. Also, Newcastle have closed the door on a possible exit of Alexander Isak. And finally, Dusan Vlahovic has offered himself to Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where we analyze or discuss Barcelona news. And where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Kickback, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the first segment of news. And as always, the first segment of news is several bits of news combined together, starting with, of course, the Champions League. The Champions League is the reason why we're starting this podcast late, because I did do the post-match live analysis. But today, Barcelona mounted an epic victory against Benfica, 0-1 at Benfica Stadium, despite being a man down for over 70 minutes because Pau Cuarci received a red card. And then Rafinha scoring the only goal of the match, giving us that very important victory in the round of 16. As Barcelona will play Benfica next week in the second leg of the round of 16 at home, where hopefully we'll, complete this victory and qualify to the quarterfinals. Now, as I mentioned, I did do the post-match live analysis. If you do want to hear my thoughts and opinions, my breakdown of the match, make sure to check out the video on the channel. And from the Champions League, we move on to Mark ter Stegen, because we do have great news about our German goalkeeper. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we will know when ter Stegen will be back by the end of this month. Now, as you know, ter Stegen suffered a very serious injury at the beginning of the season, where he suffered a torn ligament in his right knee. He had to undergo surgery. He was ruled out for the entire season, but he has been recovering very well. In fact, he has been doing training on the pitch for the past 2 weeks. That usually comes after, once you do the surgery. First, you have to heal. Then you start doing exercises in the water, some physical therapy to strengthen the muscles and fully heal. And then you start doing workouts in the gym. Now, ter Stegen has been doing workouts on the pitch, on the grass for the past 2 weeks. So his recovery is coming along really well. He has weekly reviews with the health staff or with the fitness staff and doctors and physiotherapists at Barcelona. And yesterday they told them that by the end of March, they will have an exact schedule for his return. And they're speculating that he could be back before the end of the season, despite being ruled out for the whole season when he first got injured. So that's definitely great news. Of course, to me, ter Stegen is the best goalkeeper there is. So if he could be back by the end of the season, I would definitely love to see him start. But I do want to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think we should continue with Szczesny until the end of the season? If ter Stegen comes back early, would you play ter Stegen? Let me know in the chat section or comment section if you're watching this when it ends. Now, the last bit of news in regards to Ansu Fati, because as you know, as I told you in yesterday's video, Barcelona are considering the Middle East option for Ansu Fati. They, of course, want to offload him. They know that Flick doesn't count on him. So they're looking for a possible destination for Ansu Fati. They're exploring options in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. Joan Laporta and Deco met with Jorge Mendes in Portugal, since the team are all in Portugal or were in Portugal today for the Benfica match. So the Deco and Laporta met with Ansu Fati's agent, Jorge Mendes, to try to explore options. Jorge Mendes is helping the club to try to find a solution for Ansu, because not only does the club not want Ansu, but Ansu needs minutes too. So, of course, Jorge Mendes, as his agent, is looking for the best possible solution. And as Jorge Mendes was leaving the meeting between Joan Laporta and Deco and him, he was asked about what's going on with Ansu Fati. And this is what the super agent had to say. We haven't talked about Ansu Fati, but he's a player who has shown his quality many times and who now needs to play. And at Barca, it is complicated. So not saying much, but at the same time, saying something, saying that Ansu Fati needs minutes. And at Barca, it's complicated. So in other words, Barca is not going to get the minutes, but he does need minutes. So indirectly, you can conclude that, well, Jorge Mendes did talk about Ansu Fati, even though he said he didn't, because, again, Barcelona and the super agent are trying to look for solutions for the player because, like the agent said, he needs minutes, but at Barcelona, he's not going to be getting any minutes. Now, of course, Ansu Fati has ruled out a possible move to Saudi during the winter transfer market, but now that Hansi Flick is not even including him in squad lists, that, of course, could change his mind in the summer, not to mention that his family has been pushing him to leave Barcelona for quite some time. His agent has been pushing him to leave Barcelona for quite some time. He's so far been hesitant. Maybe now that he sees Flick is not even including him in the squad list, maybe he'll change his mind. We'll see where Ansu Fati will end up, but it's definitely not a happy ending for someone who we thought was going to be our next, maybe not Messi, but the next best thing to come out of the academy. Unfortunately, it did not work out that way. It's really, really sad because I'm a big fan of Ansu Fati. I think he's a very skilled player, but ever since the injury, unfortunately, he's just not been the same. Anyways, let's start with the chat section, and then we will talk about Jonathan Tah. Jesco Boy says there's no way we are signing Isak with this kind of financial situation we're going through. We'll talk about Alexander Isak in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Java the Hat says, I'm not worried about how Gabi is playing recently, but I am concerned how this dip in form recently. I'm not too worried because that's everything. That's something that every player goes through. I commented how Rafinha in the last 4 matches, he wasn't himself. Today, of course, he gave us the winning goal. So I think that's just normal throughout the season. All players eventually experience a dip in form, whether it's fatigue, whether it's exhaustion, mental exhaustion as opposed to physical exhaustion. It happens. It happens. No player is immune for dip in forms. Even Messi used to have his dip in form. So I'm not too worried. All I hope is that Gabi regains his form pretty soon. Triple X says, no, Isak? Oh, God, then who? Don't tell me Laporta has renewed his son Lewandowski for an extra 5 years. He's so finished, can't even control a simple ball. Can't control balls, but he can score 36 goals. So not bad. Cherno says, hi, Mo. What do you think of the mentality of the players now compared to the Xabi era? I discussed it in a post-match live analysis, so I don't want to be too repetitive, but this is definitely a completely different Barca. If this was, and I said this jokingly with my friends, I was like, which maybe is not even a joke, but if this match happened last season, it probably would have ended, 3-0 in favor of Benfica, with Xavi having received a red card, because that's literally what happened against PSG. We were up, by 4 goals? We go a man down, and we lose. How do you lose when you're up by that many, and Xavi gets himself expelled? Under Flick, we lose the man, and we win. Not even a draw. Look, if we have drawn, I still would be like, this is a great result. We drew away with a 1 less man. No. We win. I mean, completely different Barca. Completely different Barca. Muhammad Balah says, hi, Mo. My name is Mohammed M. Balah, and I'm watching you from Liberia, Monrovia. I'm so happy for the victory of FC Barcelona. I am too, my friend. I am too. And Nathan says, hi, Mo. Question, does Barca have any interest on some fullback player like Theo Hernandez or Trent Alexander-Arnold? I don't think there's any interest in Theo Hernandez. I think Alexander-Arnold is somewhere that Barcelona would, of course, I'm sure would love to have, but it's not really in the plans because I don't think Barcelona could afford Trent Alexander. Perhaps my feeling would be is that he will, renew with Liverpool if he hasn't renewed already, because I don't follow Liverpool news, but he's not really, with Barcelona sign him, of course, but is he in the plans? No, because not a realistic option. Anyways, let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about Jonathan Tah, because Barcelona just received a boost in the race for the German defender. Now, if you don't know what's going on with Jonathan Tah, because you live under the rock, or maybe you haven't subscribed to the channel so you don't get a notification when I post videos, then maybe that's the problem, because you need to subscribe. You need to hit that bell button so you get the notifications whenever whenever I post a video. But if you don't know what's going on with Jonathan Tah, his contract expires at the end of the season, so he will become a free agent in the summer. He has decided not to renew with Bayer Leverkusen, and as such, of course, Barcelona were very interested in him because Barcelona are always interested in players who could come to the club for free, especially given the financial situation of the club. There was a lot of talks of Barcelona reaching an agreement with Jonathan Tah, like a pre-agreement that has never been officially confirmed by the club or by the player. But we do know that there's obviously many other clubs after him, including the big one, Bayern Munich, who were at one point even considered being in pole position to sign the player because they have the money, they want him, they have the capability to sign him. However, it's reported now that Jonathan Tah has ruled out Bayern Munich. He doesn't want to go to a team that competes against Bayer Leverkusen. And kind of like when Subimendi didn't want to come to Barcelona because he didn't want to go to a club that competes with Real Sociedad. So something similar. And of course, he also wants to try his luck somewhere else outside of the Bundesliga, outside of Germany. So Jonathan Tah has ruled out a move to Bayern Munich. And this, of course, is a boost for Barcelona because Barcelona have been trying to sign him. And Bayern Munich were pretty much the main threat as far as signing Tah or beating Barcelona to sign Tah. But now that Bayern Munich threat is not there. However, it is reported that Deco has frozen the negotiations right now, that the talks were ongoing with the player, but that Deco has put a pause on them because, of course, there is no urgency. This is not a priority for the club. Yes, he's free, but of course, we have many talented center backs. We have Inigo, Cubarsí, Araujo, even Eric Garcia has been doing a good job. Christensen, if he ever decides to stop getting injured. So, of course, now he is not a priority. So for now, the negotiations are paused. But if Barcelona would decide to resume them, and if Barcelona still decided to move forward with the signing, we now know that at least Bayern Munich are not competing with us, and they were our main competitor. And we do know that the player prefers to come to Barcelona. And of course, his agent is Pini Zahavi, who's the same agent of Lewandowski and Hansi Flick. So if Barcelona were to go for the signing, I think it's a very real possibility. But for now, negotiations are paused. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then we are going to talk about Alexander Isak. All right, let's see what everyone's saying. Sean says, so we get back Ter Stegen before the Camp Nou. Yeah, pretty much. We're going to get back even Christensen and Bernal all before the Camp Nou. We might even get the Champions League back before the Camp Nou, but anyways, that's where we at. Katana Justice says, all match, Szczesny was smiling and had a lot of fun. Yeah, what an incredible match by Wojciech Szczesny. He was an absolute wall today. No shot could get past him. Excellent match. Ron says, even on free, having watched out this season, I don't think he will be a good signing for us. Interesting. I would be interested to hear why do you think that? Let me know down below in the chat section. And Mark says, what? We don't have 120 mil to spend on Isak? No, unfortunately, we don't. By the way, if you didn't watch yesterday's video, since the Camp Nou was mentioned and now Mark is mentioning the 120 million, we're not going to go back to the Camp Nou until the month of October. And as a result, we're going to lose 28 million this season alone because, of course, in the budget that Barcelona set out for this year, they were expected to get back to the Camp Nou by the end of November for the anniversary. So they had calculated the profits from ticketing based on having returned to the Camp Nou, even at 60% capacity, right? It would have been more money than the money we're making off Montjuic. Since that didn't happen, Barcelona are going to be in the whole 28 million euros, which, Barcelona are going to have to find a way to make that up. Otherwise, we're going to be in the red or in the negative. And now, of course, will affect the financial fair play. Now, there are some options that Barcelona could do, of course. Sale of a player. They're talking about Trincao, maybe going to Man City or Man United. That could bring Barcelona a good chunk of money. If we advance far in the Champions League, that could mean more money that Barcelona perhaps didn't count on in their budget. So Barcelona are going to have to do something, but otherwise we're going to be missing $28 million euros from their budget, and that's going to be a problem. All right, let's see. Who else? Sean says, the only mistake I think Flick made is taking Olmo. I think he's better off he took off Robert. I think a faster and more mobile player would have been more helpful. True, but I think the reason why Flick kept Lewandowski is because he wanted a point of reference, right? And we've seen this in a lot of teams where when you don't have an actual center forward, regardless whether that center forward is good or bad or scores or doesn't score, but teams seem to operate better when they have an actual center forward because it becomes a point of reference for what the team should do or how the team should attack or pass the ball or create the chances. So and we've seen that with Madrid, right? Because they don't really have an actual nine, right? They have Mbappe who sometimes plays there, but he's not really a nine. And when teams don't have an actual center forward, they struggle because they don't have a point of reference as far as their attack. So I think that's why Flick, again, I'm guessing here, I don't know. I think this is why Flick kept Lewandowski instead of Dani Olmo, because he switched to a 4-4-1, and then he can have a point of reference for the rest of the team when it came to their building attacks. Anyways, let's get back to the news. Because we do have to talk about Alexander Isak, since we did just mention Robert Lewandowski. As we know, Barcelona are in the market scouting the market for possible options to replace Lewandowski, because not only does his contract expire in the summer of 2026, but also, of course, he's not getting any younger. So Barcelona want to sign someone in his place. So when Lewandowski leaves, we can have a young center forward that can be at the club for many, many years. And of course, one of the options that Barcelona have been considering is Alexander Isak. He's 25 years old. He's in that sweet spot in his prime, has plenty of more years to go. He has been doing absolutely wonderful since he arrived in the Premier League. He was good at Real Sociedad, but once he arrived at the Premier League, I think his level just shot up. This season alone, he has scored 19 goals and provided 5 assists. So he's definitely doing really, really well. So between his skills, between his speed, his ability to score goals, and his age, this is, of course, an option that Barcelona have considered very seriously. But of course, one of the main obstacles in Barcelona's path is his price, where it's rumored it's around 120 million euros, something that Barcelona cannot afford in 5 years. And now there's another obstacle, because the executive director of Newcastle has been asked, hey, what's going on with Alexander Isak? Because it's not only Barcelona who are considering his signing. There are other teams, including Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United. And since there's been so many talk and rumors around clubs being interested in signing Alexander Isak, finally, Newcastle's executive director came out and addressed the issue. And this is what he had to say. We strive as a club to be at the top of the table. We want our best players to be here. I think it shows the value of Isak that they talk about him all the time. We don't want to move any player. They all have long-term contracts. We have no intention of those players leaving. We're not under pressure or anything like that. We have a property that is ambitious and wants the best for the club. That just sounds wrong, calling a player property. But anyways, so from the perspective, it would be crazy for us to consider it. So the executive director of Newcastle pretty much making it very clear, Alexander Isak is not for sale. Ever since Newcastle came under the ownership of the Saudis or some Saudi investment fund, however you want to put it, their goal has been pretty much to replicate what has been done with Manchester City, where before they got bought out, Manchester City wasn't really a relevant team. And then it became, the best in the Premier League. Now they're going through a rough patch, but for many, many years, Manchester City became really, a reference really in the Premier League. So the Saudis kind of want to replicate the same thing with Newcastle. They want to take Newcastle to the top, make it into a winning team, a Champions League playing team, etc. And of course, being that they want to do that, they're not looking to sell their best players, right? If you want to become a champion, if you want to become a winning team, you're going to want to sign the best players, not sell your best players. And when you're talking about the Saudis owning them, there's no need to sell players, right? This is not a club that needs money or that needs to generate income or anything like that. They have plenty of money, so they're under no pressure to sell players to generate money. And again, if you want to become the best, you have to retain the best players rather than sell them. So Newcastle saying, sorry, Barca, sorry, Arsenal, sorry, Liverpool, sorry, Manchester United. Alexander Isak is not for sale. And again, even if he was, affording him would not be possible for Barcelona. So it looks like this option, just like Gyökeres, just like Haaland, is off the table. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about Dusan Vlahovic. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Cherno says, is Barca really in talks with the betrayer Neymar who left us for money despite all players convincing him to stay? I will not watch any Barca game. No, it's not true. There's no truth to that. Barcelona don't have Neymar in their plans, at least at the moment. I don't know if maybe tomorrow Laporta trips, hits his head on a door, and he's like, I want Neymar. Barcelona don't have Neymar in their plans. Hansi Flick doubts that doesn't want Neymar, in other words, but doesn't think that Neymar will be a good addition to the team. And I agree. I agree 100%. Which is, by the way, it's funny you mentioned betrayer, because this is the funny thing about Neymar. Because the other day I said, I don't want Neymar in the team, and a group of people went crazy. They're like, Neymar is the best, blah, blah, blah. You're crazy. You're a hater. You hate Neymar. I love, by the way, when people are just like, you're a hater. It tells you have no argument. So you just dismiss something as you're a hater, right? But here's the funny thing. Dembele left Barcelona and joined PSG, and everybody called him a snake and a traitor, and no one would want him back. Neymar leaves Barcelona to PSG. Literally the same thing. But people want him back. If anyone can help me clarify the difference, please do. One player leaves Barcelona to PSG. We don't want him. Another player leaves Barcelona to PSG, but we do want him. And by the way, in the case of Neymar, it's way worse. If you tell me you want Dembele back, I would understand. Because A, Dembele in his prime, and B, Dembele is absolutely killing it right now with PSG. Neymar sued Barcelona, not once, but twice. And he's finished. He's 34 years old. The guy's done. He hasn't been in form, in shape many years since he was at PSG. So one player leaves to Barcelona to PSG. We don't want him. The other guy does the same thing. We do want him, despite being much older, to nearing the end of his career and having sued Barcelona twice. Can anyone explain that to me? But I'm the crazy one for not wanting Neymar back. By the way, skills or not, even if you think he is in form and he's going to get back in shape and be an amazing player, you know what Neymar would do to the locker room? It'll be like setting off a bomb in there. I mean, we all know about Neymar's antics, right? He loves to party. He loves to go out, get drunk, hang out with models, travel to Brazil every other day for his sister's birthdays. I mean, I think they had a Champions League match at PSG, and like he didn't even show up to training because he was on a yacht on partying. Can you imagine putting a guy like that in the locker room with all these kids and all these youngsters? That would be like setting off a bomb. Because one thing why this team is working so well, and I mean Flick's Barca, is because the cohesion that Flick has been able to establish in the locker room. Because he's a leader, right? He cares about the players. You can see that he cares about the players, but he's also strict with them. And he implements these rules that everybody has to follow, regardless of who you are, whether you're Lamine Yamal or Pau Victor. Everybody has to follow these rules. And as a result of this discipline, of these rules that Flick has implemented, the team is working, right? So these players see the result. So they're like, okay, yeah, this guy cares about us. He implements these rules, but he does it fairly across everybody. Even Kunde, who's a starter, if he shows up late, he doesn't get to play. And there's a reason for this, because look at how we're doing. We're doing great. And then you bring a guy, Neymar, who for the past 10 years has been doing whatever the hell he wants. Because at PSG, he pretty much was the president and the CEO of that club. He came and went however he wanted. He went to Saudi. He did whatever the hell he wanted. I'm sure at Santos, he's going to do whatever the hell he wanted. After all, he's their prodigal son. And then he's going to come to Barcelona, and guess what? He's going to want to do whatever the hell he wants. And he's just going to disrupt all the locker room with the discipline, with his partying, with his antics. So why would you want to do that? Why? Please help me understand. Anyways, let's get back to the news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Dusan Vlahovic has offered himself to Barcelona. Now, on the back, after Newcastle came out and said, sorry, Alexander Isak is not for sale, and knowing that Barcelona are in the market for a center forward and that one of their options was Alexander Isak, Dusan Vlahovic's agent saw that and said, oh, well, that's one less option for Barcelona. I know they want a center forward. Haaland renewed. Jokic they can't afford. Isak, the door is closed. Let me offer them my guy. So Vlahovic's agent picked up the phone and said, hey guys, Dusan is not happy at Juventus. We're looking to leave. Are you guys interested? So Vlahovic has been offered to the club. Now, Barcelona were interested in Vlahovic in the past. They did try to sign him in the past, but eventually it didn't work out for the financial situation, financial fair play, etc. He went to Juventus. Of course, at Juventus, he hasn't had the best of runs this season. He scored 9 goals and 1 assist, which is not the best numbers. They're not horrible, but they're not the best numbers. And he's always been kind of like the one to blame. Whenever Juventus are not doing that great, the press always in Italy have always, signaled him because he was the big signing of Juventus. He was supposed to be, their savior, I guess, their biggest star, whatever. So he's always the one to blame when Juventus are not doing too well. So, of course, he's not happy. He's looking to leave. Now, his market value is 60 million euros, which it would be a little bit expensive for Barcelona. However, his contract expires in the summer of 2026. So this summer, he would be entering the last year of his contract, which, of course, as we know, usually clubs are willing to negotiate and lower their asking price when you enter your last year of contract, because you run the risk that if you don't reach an agreement, the player stays the last year and then he ends up leaving for free. So it's better to get some money than no money. Now, this was just the player offering himself. This doesn't mean Barcelona want to sign him. This was simply the agent saying, hey, if you guys are ever interested, we're looking for a team. So, of course, my question to you is, would you like to see Vlahovic at Barcelona? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section. Now, the agent of Dusan Vlahovic has not only offered the player to Barcelona, he's also offered him to other Premier League clubs. But just know that Barcelona is one of the options, and we'll see what the club says. Anyways, let's do the chat section. Let's see. Ron says, I think the Neymar case is worse because he personally also paid his release clause with his lawyers and started picking fights in training with Semedo. Yeah. And again, people forget this guy sued Barcelona twice. And he's old. Like, what the fuck? Let's see. That name I cannot read because I don't read Hebrew, but says Neymar didn't want to leave. Really, we convinced him because of the money. Osman and Bella, we didn't want them to leave, but he left because of his agent convinced him to. Neymar wanted to leave. Let's not rewrite history. Neymar wanted to leave. He left on his own accord. Nobody kicked him out. Nobody forced him out. He wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay under the shadow of Messi. He went to PSG thinking he was going to become, their big superstar who's going to lead them to glory. Didn't do anything besides party his ass off. Went to Saudi, got injured. Pretty much spent the whole time partying. Not in Saudi. He was in Brazil. And now if he comes to Barcelona, he's going to want to do the same thing. Just come back and party. And that's a problem, And we should learn from Pep Guardiola. When Pep Guardiola arrived at Barca, we had Deco, Ronaldinho, or the old guard that used to do whatever the hell they wanted, and they loved party. Deco and Ronaldinho used to love to party. Ronaldinho used to show up to Champions League matches hungover. And Pep Guardiola said, I don't want this. I have a group of youngsters, including a 17-year-old who nobody knows who he is, called Lionel Andres Messi. And these guys not only are not disciplined, and as a result of their indiscipline, they're not, performing, but they're also going to affect these youngsters coming up from the academy because it's not a good example for them. So what did he do? He kicked all of those guys out. So Flick doesn't have to kick anyone out because we don't have those kind of players. So let's not invite them in and then try to kick them out. Lord says, Mo, great job, man. Great game from Barca. Totally with you on this Neymar issue. We don't need him, and Neymar damaged this club when he left. Barto went on a crazy spending spree, still paying for it. I don't think we could blame Neymar for the idiotic decisions Bartomeu did. You know, that's just Bartomeu being Bartomeu. And we do have a donation. Texas Transplant, as always, incredibly generous. Always supporting the channel. Thank you, my friend, so much for your generosity. Says, happy you waited till I got home from work to start the podcast. Very nervous match today, and I really don't know if my heart can take much more of this extreme high line play. Regardless, Visca Barca. Visca Barca, my friend. Great match by Barcelona. Great match. I mean, the way we held off, being a man down for over 70 minutes in an away match, in the Champions League knockout stage, in a difficult stadium. I mean, it was absolutely exquisite. What Szczesny did was amazing. What all the players did amazing. And, of course, what Flick did with his tactical changes, constantly reading the situation on the field, constantly adapting to what was going on in the field. I mean, it was just a brilliant match by everybody involved, except Benfica. Anyways, thank you, my friend, for your donation. That's very generous of you, as always. And John Williams says, hey, Mo, I like fighting spirit that Flick has instilled in these players, and I hope we make the right signing in the summer. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Visca Barca. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your comment. And yes, I do agree that fighting spirit is like, I haven't seen that in many years. Not just under Xavi, but under Koeman, under Setien, even under Valverde. I haven't seen this kind of fighting spirit, this winning mentality. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. Let's see. Life with Kids says, Ney is good mainly for the marketing, but on the field, I don't think going for him is a smart move. Vlahovic is a good striker, but we'll still have Lewy for a year. I don't even think that Neymar would be good for the marketing. I think Barca don't need Neymar for marketing for two reasons. A, it's Barca. Barca is a huge marketing brand. Everybody knows who Barca is. We have fans, over 200 million fans all over the world. So we don't need players to bring us marketing spotlight. You know, that's what small clubs do. That's what clubs in the MLS, in Saudi, in the J League, in Chinese league back in the day, not anymore. That's what they need to do, because those are leagues that don't have attention. So they need to bring players that bring them that attention with them. We don't need that. So that's A. B, Neymar has actually lost a lot of his marketing prowess. Neymar, many of his sponsorship contracts have expired, and his sponsors have not renewed with him because, I mean, he's towards the end of his career. Plus, he was in Saudi, now he's in Brazil. I mean, the only sponsors really that follow Neymar right now is Brazilian sponsors, and that's because he's back in Brazil, right? So Neymar, don't think Neymar is going to bring us any crazy marketing, because it's the opposite. He wants to come to Barcelona so he could renew his marketing contracts, because a lot of them have expired and have not been renewed. So, and plus, again, we don't need it. It's FC Barcelona. We don't need some washed up player just so we can bring attention to the club. We already have plenty of attention. Batur says, I thought we were going to buy left winger this summer and striker next summer. We have Lewa for next year. We are. That's the plan. Left winger this summer. If possible, reinforce the fullbacks, and then center forward summer of 2026. All right, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your incredible donations. I'm looking at you, Texas Transplant, as always. Thank you so much. I did do the post-match live analysis. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barca.